Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed that our journey in the first decades of life is not the main story but rather a preparation for what lies ahead. He said that life really begins at 40. Until then, you're just doing research. This is a bold statement that challenges the way most people view aging. We're taught to fear aging, to see midlife as a period of decline, chaos, or crisis. Popular culture is full of cliches about the so-called midlife crisis, a time of existential terror, impulsive decisions, and desperate attempts to hold on to youth. But Jung offers a radically different perspective. What if this phase of life is not a crisis but an awakening? What if it's not an end but a new beginning? To understand this, we need to look at what the first 40 years of life represent. Think of these decades as a time of exploration, a time when we gather experiences, build identities, and learn how the world works. It's a time of rapid growth. We absorb ideas and values from the people around us. But it's also a time of searching. Who am I? What should I do with my life? What will make me happy? These questions drive us in our youth, but the answers we find often seem incomplete. In those early years, we are trying to make sense of life while still trying to figure out who we really are. We build careers, relationships, and families. We focus on external success and social approval. We are learning by struggling and sometimes failing, and all of this shapes us. However, as Jung suggests in The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, all of this is preparation as research is laying the groundwork for something deeper. As we approach 40, we begin to realize that the old ways of living no longer satisfy us. The priorities that seemed so urgent, climbing the career ladder, fitting in, meeting expectations, begin to lose their appeal. We realize that much of what we have done has been shaped by other people's definitions of success and happiness. And this realization, although disconcerting, is also liberating. It is the beginning of a new phase, a process that Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, of living life on our own terms. This change is not sudden. It does not happen overnight. It is gradual, often starting with small, silent questions. Is this all there is? Am I living the life that I truly want? These questions can arise in moments of reflection, a career milestone, a significant birthday, or even a quiet night alone. But once they appear, they do not go away. They grow stronger, demanding answers. And those answers require us to face ourselves in ways we never have before. The world may see this as a midlife crisis. It is easy to label these moments of questioning and change as a breakdown. But Jung invites us to reframe this experience. What if it is not a crisis? What if it is an opportunity? What if this phase of life, with all its challenges, doubts, and changes, is exactly what we need to become the person we were always meant to be? In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung makes the observation that midlife is not the beginning of the end, it is the beginning of something much more real, meaningful, and authentic. To fully understand Jung's perspective, it is helpful to consider how we view the first half of life. During this phase, we are focused on building what he called the persona, the external identity we present to the world. This persona is influenced by our upbringing, culture, and social expectations. It is the version of ourselves that seeks approval, fits in, and succeeds in the eyes of others. It is a necessary phase, without which we would not learn how to navigate society or lay the foundations for adulthood. But the persona is not the whole self. It is a mask, a role we play. And while it has its uses, it is only a part of who we are. The problem arises when we become overly attached to it, mistaking it for the real self. As we reach middle age, the cracks in the persona begin to appear. The roles we play, the successful professional, the devoted parent, the faithful partner, begin to feel restrictive. We begin to realize there is more to us than the image we are projecting. And this is where the real work begins. Jung called this process of moving beyond the persona individuation. Individuation is about integrating all the parts of ourselves, not just the socially acceptable ones, but also the shadow and hidden aspects that we have ignored or repressed. The shadow, as Jung described it in Man and His Symbols, contains everything we reject about ourselves, our fears, insecurities, and unfulfilled desires. Facing the shadow can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is essential for growth. Only by acknowledging and accepting these parts of ourselves can we become whole. In midlife, the process of individuation takes on a new dimension. The questions we face are no longer about external achievement, but about internal fulfillment. What really matters to me? What do I want to leave behind? What kind of life do I want to create? These are deeply personal questions, and the answers cannot be found in the expectations of others. They require us to look within and listen to our own inner voice. This inward looking is often accompanied by a shift in priorities. In our youth, we are driven by ambition, competition, and the desire to prove ourselves. In middle age, we start different attitudes, connection, meaning. Life becomes less about doing and more about being. It is no longer about proving our worth, but about living in alignment with our true selves. Scientific studies confirm that this shift is supported by changes in the brain. Neuroscientific research shows that as we age, the emotional centers of the brain become more balanced. We become less reactive and more reflective, better able to regulate our emotions and face life's challenges with calm and perspective. This emotional maturity allows us to make decisions based on our values rather than our fears. We stop living on autopilot. We begin to live with intention. This does not mean that midlife is without challenges. On the contrary, it can be a time of great turbulence. The process of questioning and redefining ourselves often involves letting go of old identities, relationships, and goals. This can feel like a loss, and it is easy to understand why some people experience it as a crisis. But as Brené Brown points out, what we call a midlife crisis is often a dismantling. It is a time when we are challenged to let go of who we think we should be and embrace who we really are. This dismantling can be messy. It can involve difficult conversations, big life changes, or periods of uncertainty. But it is also a time of incredible growth. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote that the main force in human life is the will to find meaning. In midlife, this will become more urgent. We are no longer content to live according to someone else's script. We want a life that feels meaningful even if it is different from what we imagined. To do this means facing the fears that have kept us from moving forward, the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of stepping into the unknown. These fears can be paralyzing, but midlife offers an opportunity to face them head-on. It's a chance to rewrite the story of our lives, to let go of what no longer serves us and embrace what truly matters. Abraham Maslow, the pioneering humanist, described this process as self-actualization. It's the drive to realize our full potential, to become the best version of ourselves. In midlife, self-actualization takes on a new depth. It's no longer about achieving external success, but about finding inner fulfillment. It's about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful. This process isn't easy, but it's rewarding. Studies show that people in their 40s, 50s, and beyond often report higher levels of life satisfaction than people in their 20s and 30s. They feel more connected to themselves and others. They're less concerned with what others think, and more focused on what brings them joy and purpose. This is the gift of midlife, the freedom to live on our own terms. Jung believed that this freedom comes from embracing the full complexity of who we are. It's about integra.